May I introduce myself? My name is Kavi Arya. I am faculty in the Computer Science Department of IIT Bombay. And what I'd like to share with you today is something about the project which I am the principal investigator of, called E-Yantra. But more important than that is uh, why we are here together. I've stopped believing in coincidences. If someone had told me 5 or 10 years ago that I would be in a position to reach out and engage with so many people across the country through a project which was quite small at that time, I wouldn't have believed it. But something seems to be happening around us. We are the part of something very special going on. Very few places in the world is this kind of growth happening, and we are fortunate to be living in India at a time when it's really poised for growth. Now, what is our role in this growth? It gives me great pride to look at the achievement of our scientists in ISRO at having taken a spacecraft into Mars orbit. And I have been to ISRO and I have seen the kind of dedication in their facilities in Ahmedabad, for instance, and I was really impressed by the kind of innovation that I saw, which actually has enabled us to send a spacecraft right to Mars at about 1/10 the cost of that achieved by NASA. And NASA did it with the help of other countries, and they did it on the third attempt. We are rookies at the game, and we did it at the very first attempt. And I think our scientists are something we can be really proud of, and this just shows what our country is capable of. And most of the scientists in ISRO and other installations like that are not only from the IITs, they are drawn from all sorts of educational establishments throughout the country. And I can bet with you that one thing that they all have in common is they have a passion for what they do. Because unless you have passion, you cannot achieve these kind of heights. You can't achieve these heights for money. You can't achieve these heights for sort of fame and fortune. You have to do it through shram, dedication, and just being able to enjoy what you are doing. Now, what we are meeting here for today is how might we empower students that you have in your charge, whether it's at polytechnics or engineering colleges, how you might empower yourselves such that we can have more such youngsters enter into meaningful professions in India, being either entrepreneurs, manufacturing technology, inventors, solving local problems around them, which very few of us actually feel the need to do. If you look at it, it's quite interesting. I start my embedded systems class, I teach embedded systems here. I started by posing the students a question which is quite revealing. It's taken us 60 years, 60 years, to become a $1 trillion economy, right? $1 trillion is $1,000 billion, as you know, and that's when the world wakes up and starts noticing you, and it wants to buy stuff from you, it wants to sell you a lot of things, and it's giving you a lot of importance. 60 years, from 1947 to 2007, it took us to become a $1 trillion economy. How, can you suggest how long it will take us to become a $2 trillion economy? 2 trillion. How long will it take us? I'd like some feedback from the audience. If Dr. Suresh could just relay it to me, it would be useful. How long will it take us to reach $2 trillion? It's taken us 60 years for 1 trillion since independence. We've become wealthy now. How long will it take for 2 trillion?
10 years, they say 10 years.
10 years. Everybody is saying 10 years.
Yeah,
No,
almost.
no. Some others, there must be more sensible ones who must be saying more than that. Okay.
They say maybe even less.
Okay. The sensible ones who think about 20 years, please raise your hands. Raise your hands if you think it's 15 years. Good. Raise your hands if you think it's 10 years. Great. It's taken us actually 7 years. 7 years, sir, it has taken us to become $2 trillion an economy. And you can see evidence of this all around you. You can see evidence in the malls, in the mobile phones that your maids use at home, in the dual SIM cards that your drivers have, in the fact that there is so much activity on the internet, so much affluence around you, modern, cars from all over the world that you can buy. Look at the appliances that you can buy in the market. Look at the things you can buy on the net. This means that we have money in our pocket to buy things. Okay. Now, what does it need for an economy like ours to grow? Right? People don't think about that. Right? And it's taken us 7 years to become $2 trillion. It's going to take us 3 years to become $3 trillion. So we are almost on an exponential growth path like that of China, only about 10 years behind. Now, what is the meaning of this? The meaning is that we are no more in a position to advise our children what to do. When kids ask me about these kind of things, I say the last thing to ask is your parents, because what happens with us quite naturally is that we tend to predict what's going to happen in the future based on what has happened in the past, and usually our prediction is linear. But we are living in a very non-linear world at the moment. What the internet allows is mind-boggling, which nobody would ever have imagined of. It's democratizing access to information. It's democratizing access to knowledge. It's making teaching available over the net. But it does not mean that teachers don't have a role to play. Teachers have a most important role to play. But teachers have a new way of doing what they will do very well. Like for instance, I have a daughter who's in the 9th standard, and she was learning chemistry. This is about 2 days ago, and she did not understand the periodic table. Now, it's been a long time for me. It's almost about 40 years, and I remembered very little. And she was totally confused. She said our teacher just gave us this list of notes which we had to write down in our book, and that was the periodic table. And I've seen that the same thing is taught in other schools in a very creative way, and abroad it's taught in schools in an even more creative way. They have project based learning. They teach by doing and showing and illustrating and stuff like that. We've lost that art. Okay. And so what I did, I sat down with her and I said, okay, what did your teachers teach you? And then I tried to express it in my own words, but I wasn't clear either. Then we went to the net, and we went to the Khan Academy website, and there were some beautiful lectures on the periodic table, electron affinity, and valencies and all these kind of things. And by the end of a hour-long kind of a session, she was very well clued up and she was excited. She took all her ICSE exam papers and she could answer all the questions. This is the potential which is available nowadays. Typically the classrooms that we teach very often now is that rather than give the same lecture again and again, we record the lecture and we have a flipped classroom. We tell the students, go and see the lecture in your free time. I won't repeat myself. And then you come to the class and we'll have discussions. The discussions, actually we also learn from the discussion, because from the questions that the student asks, if we don't know the answer, it makes us go and research and come back with new insights, and that's extremely useful. So what I'm going to share with you today is a little bit of a journey of ours, and I'll just illustrate it with some videos. I won't go too much into details and stuff like that, and I would rather be interrupted by your interactions or questions. So what we have come up with in IIT Bombay is, while teaching embedded systems, we found that if you could give students the opportunity to learn by solving a problem, they learn much more and it gives them much more confidence. And this came because we used to teach embedded systems through our distance education program here, and we found that remotely it was very difficult to teach embedded systems. But if we had students who can access a lab, like the students that we had locally, by having them build things and play around with little robots and stuff like that, they could learn a lot. So our e-yantra thing came out of that. We developed with the help of some talented youngsters in our lab a little robot with which we could teach embedded systems concepts very effectively, and since then it's come a long way. The government gave us some money to spread this idea. Since then it's become a project called e-yantra, where through a homegrown open source robot we are teaching project based learning, right. So what we do is that we go to a college and then we say that if you are willing to invest about 5 lakhs of your own money and you volunteer 4 teachers to be trained, we will train the teachers in project based learning and we will set you up with a lab within about 4 to 5 months. And after that you will be plugged into our community and you will continue to get revision modules and so on. So we see our job as teaching teachers about new opportunities in teaching things like embedded systems and so on, and we are teaching, what we teach is project based learning. How do you teach your students to learn by themselves using the idea of the whole notion of projects? How do you set these kind of projects up and you teach them, and you do that through the lab that we help you establish. You spend your own money, we will help you set the lab up, we will train the teachers and we will keep in touch with you, right, taking you down this new path. So I'll show you first a small video now which gives you an outline of the entire project, and you'll also see a couple of colleagues of mine. You'll see Dr. Saraswati here, who's a senior manager, and Dr. Krishna Lala, and you will also see a colleague of mine called Professor Kriti Ramamritam, with whom we developed all this material. In a rapidly growing economy like we have in India, which is growing almost at an exponential scale, we are growing almost at the same rate as that of China, but only about 10 years behind. We need a large number of people in the economy who can build complex machines to help this growing economy. Machines for automation, machines for agriculture, for factory automation, for consumer devices and such like. Unfortunately, most of our engineering colleges are turning out students who have a lot of theoretical knowledge but not enough practical knowledge. Now, by tackling a real world problem in the small using this robot, the students pick up very important skills. They learn how to articulate their ideas, they learn how to work as a team, they learn project management, and they learn how to solve hard problems in the small. E-Yantra designs real-world problems into a game where students use imagination and innovation to solve problems in a fun way through the E-Yantra robotics competition.
So normally in BE projects, what happens is students are told to make a robot, but by the time they reach the end of the project, they just end up making the robot and they are not able to build some application on it. With this robotics research platform in your college, you can make some application directly from this.
Apart from the competition, with E-Yantra we also have some different types of facilities. We also provide workshops to teachers and the students. We have internships going on for the students as well. Students participate in the various different types of competitions. We have the robotics competition and also the ideas competition.
The E-Yantra Lab Setup Initiative, ELSI, helps the college set up an embedded systems and robotics lab.
E-Yantra project addresses 3 main stakeholders: students, teachers and colleges. Students are addressed through the competition, the E-Yantra robotics competition national level, and they are given a robotic kit to solve real world problems using the robotic kit. For the teachers and colleges, the E-Yantra Lab Setup Initiative gives a scalable and sustainable solution. Nodal centers, the colleges which coordinate E-Yantra activities at different regions, they are identified, and many colleges from the region participate through the nodal centers in this exciting initiative.
Under our nodal center, there are 12 engineering colleges participating from Shivaji University, Kolhapur region. The faculty development programs, students competitions, and many other activities were conducted under our nodal center.
The benefits of E-Yantra projects includes increased enthusiasm among students with creative thinking, better laboratory sessions in electronics and computer science and engineering courses. Students are developing robotics applications using open source softwares available on E-Yantra portal. Faculty members are doing their MTech projects using Firebird platform.
At the end of this whole exercise, we have teachers trained, you have a lab in place, and you have students who are already exposed to robotics and embedded systems.
As a part of the lab setup initiative, eYantra provides a platform for the exchange of ideas and rich interaction between teachers and students through the annual eYantra Symposium.
We look forward to having this eYantra Symposium, which will serve as a kind of a reunion of these teachers who are a part of the eYantra family. We look forward to also having more colleges joining this family soon.
We want all the current remote centers, which are called nodal centers, to become like IIT, so that the multiplication factor and the impact and the longevity, the sustainability will be that much more in the regional areas. We can reach them to some extent through electronic means, bulletin boards and tutorials and workshops there. But for this to really multiply physically and have the locals participate in the whole exercise, that is our goal.
This is the eYantra team which is going to set up 500 robotic labs in engineering colleges throughout the country in the next 3 years, and I'm very proud of them. Okay, so this is essentially gives you an outline of the eYantra project, and what I'll do now is that I can entertain a few questions, and then what I will show you. So what we are trying to do at the moment is that we are trying to make the BE projects in your colleges more meaningful, right? That's our goal at the moment. We want the BE projects to serve as a prototype for engineering needs in the vicinity of that college. That means that we should have a situation where the college faculty are engaging with local industry, coming up with their needs and ideas and stuff like that, having their students implement it as BE projects and starting off something. So to help this, what we did is that last year when we had the eYantra robotics competition, the main point of the robotics competition is to popularize eYantra with students, right? We had about 1600 teams take part from all across the country, and that means 4 students to a team. About 6,500 students from all across the country took part, and we led them through the competition, which was actually like our embedded systems course project. Our embedded systems course has 2 parts. The first part is theory, and after the mid-semester exam we have a project where they have to articulate a particular problem and solve the problem using the robot. So I'll give you an example of it. This 2 years ago the theme was an agriculture theme. So we wanted to build seeding robots, weeding robots, harvesting robots and fertilizing robots and so on. So this bunch of 4 students decided that they want to build a fruit sorting robot which will take lemons, green color lemons and yellow color lemons, and it will automatically sort them using our robot, right? So they take our basic robot as a controller and use the robot to drive sensors, webcam, actuators and all that in order to solve the problem that they have. So I'll play you a video to show you what your students would be able to do in 5 weeks from beginning to end by articulating an idea and implementing it using a robot. So we have over 100 of these kind of projects which are there on the website. Incidentally, one more important thing is the reason all this has happened is that I used to go to colleges and students want to do robotic projects, but there's nobody to guide them, and you can't buy the robot in the marketplace. So what you do is that you have to build a robot. By the time they've half built the robot, that 1 year is up and they have to leave this with the faculty and go off, and nobody knows where the code is and stuff like that. So again next year someone wants to do a robotic project, same thing happens again. So with the result that nothing substantial ever happens. So we wanted to create an ecosystem where the robot is a commodity, you can just go and buy it, right? And you can quickly prototype an application by using previous code which might have been built for doing interesting little subtasks like localization and image processing and stuff like that. You can build more and more complex applications year after year basically. So now I'll show you an example of a project which students have executed in 5 weeks from start to end, and typically what the students do is that there are a number of milestones, right? The first milestone is articulating the problem, requirement specification, then we have to iterate the requirement specification with them to bring it down to a size which is acceptable. Then they implement it, we have a prototype, then you have a final project, and then they have to make a video of it and write a report and release the code and stuff like that. So the entire project code, everything is available to you. Okay, so here's an example.
Agriculture domain, we often see a task of sorting of different type of fruit based on its size and color and different other attributes.
Our system consists of 3 main modules: fruit dispensing module, image processing module, and fruit routing module. Fruit dispensing module has a task of dispensing only single fruit at a time. So once the user puts a number of fruits in this funnel, it can extract only single fruit using the controlled forward and backward motion of this piston inside this pipe, which we have achieved using this rack and pinion mechanism and 2 IR proximity sensors. One of the sensor is in front of the piston, which can sense whether the fruit is in front of the piston or not, and the second sensor is in this IP module, which can sense whether the fruit is in the IP module or not. Once the dispensing module gives one fruit to the IP module captures its images, extracts its features such as its size, its colors, and runs the algorithm to decide its class label.
Okay, so that was what students typically do in about 5 weeks time, and to teach them all the microcontroller skills that they need in order to control the robot takes only 2 days. It takes 2 days to train the robots, and I'll guarantee you that if we get together with your teachers there, in 2 days we will give you all the gyan which is necessary, that you will be able to program the robot to do all these things, right? But then it needs more work, more complex programming, but you will be able to take control of the robot and understand all the microcontroller aspects of it in 2 days. We have a workshop and it's worked very, very well with us, right? So that gives you an idea of what students can do in a course project. Now we have used the same format of a course project to make them take part in a competition. So this last year's competition, which it finished in this March this year, we had agricultural themes. So we had a seeding robot, weeding robot, harvesting robot, and a fertilizing robot. So the same course project format is used in the competition. So what happens is that students, in the process of competing, they learn a lot, and this, I am happy to say, has been the subject of a couple of very well received papers at a conference in Madrid in Spain, right, a very well rated conference. So what we have done seems to be original and seems to work pretty well. So I will show you now a video of the final entries of this year, of last year's competition, which won in this year, right. So that gives you an idea of what students like the ones at your engineering college are capable of doing over a period of 2 to 3 months on their own without any help. All we do is, now we don't even give them the workshop. In fact, one big realization on our part that makes this thing very scalable is, we found this time, for instance, we had 3,107 students registered by the 31st of August. 3,107 student teams from all across the country registered, which means almost 12,000 plus students are participating in this competition as of now, right. That shows the scalability, and the way we've been able to make this scalable is, last year for instance, we had 160 teams from all across the country. Now how do we train them? Typically we used to give a 2-day workshop. Now how do you have a 2-day workshop for students, 160 different teams, that means almost about 600 students all across the country. We recorded all our lectures, put it onto a DVD, sent it along with the robot to these student teams all over the country, and they taught themselves and competed. So this is the kind of talent that you have with you, amongst you as your students. So we have high hopes for them. So this is how it all works. Now I can go a little bit into the presentation which I have, but I think that's redundant now, but I'll still go into a little bit, but I would rather interact with you and get some questions. So this is what I've just told you about the urgent needs of our economy. We need indigenous invention. Typically we find that anything that you can buy from abroad, if you build it locally, it costs about 1/8 of that cost, 1/8, right. So we need more and more people who can actually build things locally rather than importing them. Otherwise it's going to be very hard for our economy to grow at the kind of rate that we want it to grow. And for this, education is core and educational infrastructure is core. This is the role that you are playing in this entire exercise, right. So our mission is now to enable embedded systems education in colleges throughout the country in a scalable and sustainable manner. And this is typically what our lab looks like. It has a laptop and a robot which is shared by 2 students, and we do all the assignments and all that on the robot, and it works pretty well. And this is a picture denoting what eYantra is all about. The stakeholders are students, colleges, teachers. So for students we have competitions, which is robotic competition and ideas competition. We have workshops, we have projects and internships that we give. For colleges we have ELSI, which is the lab setup initiative, and for teachers we have workshops and the robotics teachers competition. And large number of students have taken part in our competition. Last year it was about 6,324 students from all across the country. Here you can see the distribution on a map of India, right. This year it has been over 12,000 students, 12,428 students from all across the country, and it's quite interesting to see the distribution across states. Tamil Nadu has had a very, very high number of students. Kerala, I'm afraid, has not had as many as we would like to see, so it will be one of these smaller numbers here, right, but these numbers are yearly changing. This is the kind of numbers you see here. We have about 54 teams who are registered from Kerala at the moment, 1,029 teams registered from just the state of Tamil Nadu. This is because we have a very proactive director of technical education who has been ensuring our spread in engineering colleges throughout the state. Maharashtra has been historically good for us, 627 teams. We find that wherever we have established eYantra labs, there are a large number of teams which are taking part, right. So this gives you a spread of eYantra participants in the robotic competition throughout the country. This is what the robot looks like. It's open source. You can manufacture it locally if you like, but we have some vendors who manufacture this for us. It has 5 proximity sensors, which are these things here, which can sense up to 1.5 meters with millimeter accuracy. It has a daughter board on which you have the processor, which can be an 8051 processor, an Atmega 2560 or an ARM 7 or what have you. It can talk through either Zigbee, Bluetooth, serial communication, Wi-Fi. It can talk to PCs or other robots. Below this, it's got white line following sensors. That means it follows white lines. It can interface up to about 4 DC motors or up to and about 18 servo motors. So it's very, very versatile in the number of sensors and actuators that you can actually hook up to this. And so I've spoken to you about ELSI, which is the initiative to build a capacity in colleges. This is the eYantra ecosystem, where we have the robotics competition for students. That seeds the idea of labs. Then we establish the lab at the colleges, we create infrastructure, and we align courses and projects and all that with practicals. Then we empower the teachers through the workshops and the eYantra teachers competition. I can come to that a bit later. And then we train. So we have the robotics teachers competition here. And throughout the time we are mentoring. It's not that we come and give you a workshop and that's the end of the story, right? You are part of the community, and whatever new learnings we have, we will pass on to all the teachers, right? So this is the lab setup initiative. It's a 3-pronged approach: workshops for teachers, set up the infrastructure, and then we take the teachers through an eYantra robotic teachers competition. Now that is part of the training, right? So the workshops we typically organize at a nodal center, which is a particularly proactive college whose management don't mind hosting a lot of colleges for workshops there, and we will conduct the workshop. Then we set the infrastructure up where the college will commit the space and the funds. We will give each college 3 robots from our side as part of the starting kit, and expert advice to set up a lab. And then we have the eYantra robotics teachers competition, where the college now provides the teams with the infrastructure and the teachers participate in the competition. And we find that teachers really enjoy this, they learn a lot, and in the process they are taking ownership of all the material that we teach them. So this has been very motivating without exception. Then we have the lab setup initiative works through nodal centers, each of which nurtures about 10 to 15 colleges in the same geography. This has been the current status, where we had 16 Mumbai University colleges last year who came onto the program. Then we had 35 colleges who inaugurated labs this year on the 11th of April from Delhi, Shimoga, Ichalkaranji in Maharashtra, Chandigarh and Alandi in Maharashtra. 65 are participating in the current phase till the end of the year from Chennai, from Salem, Trichy, Coimbatore, Noida and Kolkata. So we have, this year we will have almost 120 colleges and 500 in the next 2 more years. And the benefits you have just heard: increased enthusiasm among students, better trained and motivated faculty, and better branding for your college. And our role is to actually make it happen, to act as catalysts, to give you the material, to implement the initiative, help you create the processes and get you going basically with the training and everything. So this is the role of the nodal center. It helps us coordinate the colleges in that catchment area by sending invites and confirming participation of principals and so on. We will come and give the workshops and organizing the events. Role of colleges is providing support essentially to the teacher team, and the steps in the process, this can be taken later, but from start to finish it's about 16 weeks, 4 maximum 5 months, right? But first it starts with a letter of intent which you have to send us, saying that you are interested in being part of this initiative, right? So this is some pictures from past workshops that we've had, and the prerequisites is just basic knowledge of C programming, right, which is not a challenge for most teachers, and we give you everything else. So this is a few of the topics which are covered in the workshop: basics of microcontroller architecture, IO interfacing and all that. So I won't go into much of the details of this. This we can give you by mail. I'll just show you some pictures from the last eYantra symposium where all the teachers from the labs that we had established came to Bombay, and we had a demo of all the student projects that they've done at the colleges, and this was very motivating for everybody. We paid for their coming to IIT Bombay. We put them up for a couple of days, and we awarded certificates to all the teachers, and we gave prizes for the competition and things like that. I think we lost. So I've got one last video to show you, which is about the robotic teachers competition, to illustrate to you what we expect our teachers to do as part of the training process, right? But that will be the last video, and before I go into that, I'd like to address any questions that you might have about whatever I've spoken about now.
I got a question.
Yes.
The thing is, there are other robotic championships like NRC conducted by IIT Bombay.
Yes.
Yeah. See, the thing is, have you entrusted any third party to take classes for these robotic championships?
No, we have not. We are doing everything ourselves because we want to keep a very strict check on quality control, and we've been very unhappy about the fact that certain people have been using our names without our authority to do so. And the important thing about our work is that it's funded by MHRD, and MHRD has also designated that any college which has access to TechWhip funds should spend their funds on establishing an eYantra lab. We do not charge for anything. We do not take any money from either the colleges or students. We are just sharing the knowledge that we have. We are actually giving. We are showing the college that you invest this money in your lab and you pay for everything. We will show you how to spend the money. We show you how to set the lab up. We will train your teachers, and we will keep on upgrading your skills as time goes on, and this is funded by the government. Now, I am aware that there are some outside companies which are using IIT's name or the name of some student bodies at IIT conducting robotic workshops and charging a fee, but that is not us. I would like to make it very clear. We do not charge for anything. We are an MHRD funded project.
Okay. The second thing is this the only exclusive robotic championship throughout India, or many other IITs are they doing similar type of workshops?
This is the only robotic competition that we know of which works with a small robot, which is a given, right? In the sense that we give the student free of cost the robot, with the agreement that after they have competed in the competition, they will give this robot to the college which is hosting them. That is the agreement we have with the student. So we are actually giving the student the robot, we are giving them gyan, we are teaching them, we are taking them through the whole process. So they are actually learning a lot in the process, and so it's a unique competition in the sense that it is run using a particular robot platform which is designed by us. It's an open source robot platform. That means that you can build it yourself tomorrow if you like, and it's creating an open source ecosystem of software modules which students from all across the country can use, right? And we do all the training and conducting of this workshop.
Okay, sir. Two more questions.
Yes.
One is that suppose we want to register it for eYantra, can you just tell us the procedure we need to follow? That is number one.
Okay.
Yeah, we are from polytechnic colleges. Number two is that even without registering, suppose we need to have some technical queries or technical problems that we need to set right with you.
Yes.
Can you give the contact address or some other way of interacting with you?
Yes. In fact, the first question about how do you start is that you sent us a letter of intent that you want to be a part of the eYantra project. So what we will do is that there's an email address. I'll give you that. It's in my presentation. So this is the information that would be of use to you. You just write to us, right, saying that you would like to be a part of the eYantra project.
Hello. Yeah, hello sir, this is Professor Suresh again.
Yes.
Hello, you are able to hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Sir, there is one more request from the participants.
Yes.
Is it possible to get any pamphlet or the other, the further details about the e-Yandra? If it is
Absolutely.
possible, can you share with them? Can you send a kind of PDF file, or if you are able to tell us where is the source they can download, and then they can get some more further additional information?
Absolutely. But just record this email address, support@e-yantra.org. Just write to us at that address. We have a team which responds to all this, and we will give you the process, and we will also send you all the pamphlets which tells you everything about the program and what it's all about. And what we will then do is that we will, from the applications that we've got, in this case from Kerala, we will decide who we wish to use as a nodal center, and we'll do that in discussion with the Director of Technical Education in the state. So depending on the number of colleges, we will decide upon 1 or 2 nodal centers, and then we will start our formal engagement. But the formal engagement will only come after you have mailed us a letter of intent, and all the letter of intent really says is that it commits, it's a commitment from your side that you want to engage in the e-Yantra project. You are essentially saying that I will invest the 5 lakh of rupees or whatever is required. I will volunteer 4 teachers to be trained, and I will dedicate 1 lab space to set up the lab. And from that point, we will take over, and we will do everything which is required, and you just have to make available these basic resources. Any other questions?
Question from the audience.
Yes.
Is there any investment required for setting up the lab? That's the question from the audience.
See, what we've said is roughly about 5 lakh of rupees has to be invested by you. We will give you a bill of material, right? A list of things that you should have. Some colleges might already have it, some colleges might not have it. You certainly need a certain number of robots and accessories and so on. You will need tools, you will need all sorts of other things. We put these down in an Excel spreadsheet and send it to you, and typically it's of that sort of amount of money that you should keep aside. If you don't spend all of it, you should at least keep a part of the unspent money to subsidize teachers who want to come to IIT Bombay to attend a symposium and things like that. So I am saying that each college should keep aside 5 lakh of rupees for the lab establishment costs. We have nothing to do with it. We do not take money, we just give. And we will give each college 3 robots from our side on completion of the establishment of the lab, right? So that's the role that we are playing. And this is not a one-time engagement. Once we are engaged with you, we will continue to help you with course modules and all sorts of other material, because we will be like an interface to other resources at IIT Bombay, either faculty resources or other resources. There are also a number of other NME ICT projects at IIT Bombay which colleges and polytechnics should be aware of. There is a very good free and open source software project. There is a project on spoken tutorials. Professor Phatak's 10,000 teacher training project is on, for instance. There is a lot that can come to you through the NME ICT, right, once you start on this path. Yes, one more thing I'd like to add. The important thing is I've told you the rate at which the economy is growing, and I have told you that it costs roughly 1/8 of the cost of actually buying something from abroad. Now we don't just are kind of blindly making these statements. We have experience in the lab of doing a number of industry projects for agencies like BARC and industry. We've done military projects, and we've seen the kind of opportunities that exist. Like for instance, we are doing a military project where we are building a radio sonde. A radio sonde is like a sensor package which you send up in a balloon, and it goes up to about 20 or 30 kilometers height, sending information about the atmosphere, which is temperature, pressure, humidity, wind speed and so on, based on which they can calibrate the firing of a missile or a gun and things like that. Now this is a project that we got from the Army Technology Board. Now this item is bought from a foreign country for a very expensive cost, and we calculated, we've done it for less than 1/10 of the cost here. I've looked at Navy projects, right, building a remote controlled target boat for instance, and when I saw how much they buy it from Israel, right, it's not rocket science. Your students at the MTech or other level can do it with your help, no big deal, buying off the shelf components and things like that. I calculated that something which the Navy buys for about 2.5-3 crores from Israel, and Israel does not even give them the support that they need or indigenization that they need. You can build it here using students, MTech students and things like that, for about roughly 1/8 the cost. That includes the hull, the engine, the electronics and everything basically. So that's typically our observation, that it's not a coincidence that in Mangalayan you've sent a spacecraft to Mars for 1/10 of the cost that it has cost NASA. Now this applies to everything that you import, right? If we do it in the country, it costs 1/8 of the cost, and we can do it. It's just that nobody has asked us to do it. Our industry until now has been too busy just in the license Raj, or it imports the technology and just manufactures it here, with the result that that technology is not really indigenized, right? To have indigenous options, the inventor has to be embedded in the context. So our fond hope, why we are doing this project as academics at IIT Bombay, our fond hope is that your students, being embedded in the context, will be able to identify innovation or innovative products and services which the local industry needs, which no American sitting in America can even imagine. So I'll give you an example of how we are trying to help this cause. This year, the winners of our students' robotic competition, we invited to IIT Bombay for internships. We don't give prize money, we give a very token amount of money, we give the student internships, right? So this year, the people who came first and second in each of the themes of the robotic competition, we invited them to IIT Bombay to spend 8 weeks with us. In the last week of their stay with us, we exposed them to something very interesting. I invited a colleague from the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Department of Copenhagen Business School in Denmark. Copenhagen Business School, which is one of the top business schools in the world. They run a very strong innovation and entrepreneurship program. He asked me earlier this year when I went there for a conference, that these kids, who take part in a competition, what is their value? How great are they? What can they do? He said. I said, you come and see what they can do. So he came and we flew him across, and he gave a 5-day workshop on innovation and entrepreneurship to these 20 kids I had at IIT Bombay. And I tell you, that was a transformative experience. Not one of them, after they've gone from here, wants to join TCS or Infosys. He wants to be an entrepreneur. I want the same infection to infect the teachers and the students at your colleges, because they can do it. It's just that nobody's told them they can do it, and if they want to do it, nobody will tell them what they want also, right? So what we did in this workshop is, from start to finish over 5 days, in 5 days, we showed them how to find a problem to solve. Because in solving a problem, you find an idea for a business, right? So we asked them, we invited them, look around you in society, find out what are the needs of society, and use those needs as a basis to conceptualize some kind of service or a product that you can offer, right? And then we showed them, we took them through steps, right, where they first presented the idea to their grandmother. So we said, okay, now we are your grandmother, right? Explain this idea to her of a business or making money in a simple way that she can understand. Once they did that, everybody was given one rupee, and they say, okay, fine, all of you, if you are interested in investing in this idea, please put your money down, right? Then we graded them on the basis of how much people were willing to invest in their idea. Then they made a pitch the next day after some more training to their local bank manager, right? Because we wanted to see whether that idea has got financial closure, right? Then again people invested in them based on their pitch, because by that time the idea had got modified a little bit more to make sure that it can make money. Then the last thing is that they were to give that pitch to a venture capitalist. Now venture capitalist wants financial closure plus they want scalability. He is not interested in making 1 lakh. If you can make 100 crores, he is interested, otherwise he is not. Okay. So at the end of the process, these kids were to write a business plan. So we took them through the entire process. But this is something that we now want to do not with students, but we want to do it with teachers. You should be able to do this same thing in your colleges with your students, and you should be helping start up little enterprises which can address the local needs of your industry. Okay. So that's our motivation, right? So IIT rewards its faculty here for teaching and research, not for doing these kind of projects. We do these projects because we feel it's meaningful, and it's meaningful to be in India if you can do these kind of things. That's why we do it. So we have a very passionate team here of people and colleagues and so on, who really want to do these kind of things, which is why I'm standing here in front of you. So we want to pass on our excitement, we want to pass on our passion, we want to pass on our hope to you to have a really good time, and we'll show you how. So any other questions that you would like to ask?
Sir?
Yes.
You are talking about the entrepreneurship program, but the thing is you are limiting that facility to the first and second holders of the program.
Yes.
But my question is, if somebody is coming out with an idea
Yes.
that may not be related with the Intra program or something like that,
Absolutely.
can we sought your help in getting the problem solved or
Yes.
something like that?
So I'll tell you what my answer is to that. So we've realized that this is also very limiting to just limit it to first and second. We realize that we want to engage with teachers because you can make the difference. You will expose lots of kids to it. So whatever we have to say, we will say to you. We will call teachers here or to the nodal centers and give them this workshop. So this year we planned with Professor Sudhanshu Rai at Copenhagen Business School that we'll give the same workshop to teachers now, right? And then the teachers can go and infect the students with the virus, right? So we want to work with the teachers on all these things now. So that's the goal. Does that answer your question, sir?
To some extent, to some extent.
No, I want to answer it fully,
Okay,
so please continue.
Yeah, the ultimate problem is that, so we have start villages and so many other incubation centers right now at our place.
Yes.
The problem is that students coming out with so much of ideas, but ultimately they need to procure certain things from outside, which
Yes.
may cost them very huge amount.
Yes.
Instead of they, with the help of somebody, could develop a low-cost technology,
Yes.
or they come out with idea, if that could be materialized with help of somebody, that will be really grateful. That is what I really mean.
Okay, so what we've done now is that we are in the process of articulating a separate competition from the robotic competition for students. We are coming up with we are rejigging this idea of an ideas competition, right, where we will leave it open to ideas across a number of disciplines, and then we are thinking that we have the funds to incubate these ideas also, because typically what students need is some 10 or 15,000 rupees to just buy the sensors and actuators or whatever bits and bobs they need in order to build a prototype. Because an idea by itself has no value, you have to prototype it in order to show what it can do, and we need to give them the knowledge also to turn this idea or use this idea as a basis for, say, a business plan in order to show that there is a financial closure. So you are right, every idea needs some amount of incubation. So I feel that from the eYantra project we are in a position now to do that basic incubation. So we are going to invite students, right, to take part in this ideas competition, and the ideas that we think have value, we will help incubate them. Now does it answer your question, sir?
Okay, sir, thank you very much for spending your valuable time and answered all our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving
I
me
think the
privilege.
participants will be contacting you for further details. You have given us interesting the details about the project. Definitely they will be using it in their profession. They will be contacting you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. In fact, I would like to say that you have ISRO on your doorstep in Kerala. You should be turning out a large number of engineers going to ISRO, and we'd like to help you doing that. and we are looking forward
Okay.
to a good number of inquiries from Kerala now, and we'd be most happy to come to Kerala and get this off the ground. And the sooner we hear from you, the better it is. And I will guarantee you, sir, that if we get some inquiries, we'll try and close them in the next month itself and start doing all the planning and so on, right? Kerala is one state that is not as well represented with e-Yantra, but maybe it's because we've not had this meeting yet. So thank you very much for having listened to me patiently, and we'll be happy to help. Just write to support@e-yantra.org and we will start the process and show you what needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I can take a last question if that's what
Good
you had in
afternoon.
mind.
Yeah, good afternoon, Professor.
Yes.
29th to 30th, another workshop for Karnataka state faculty members. So, second batch.
Yes.
So, we already sent a mail to you, sir, for your inviting your speech for on e-Yantra.
On 29th and 30th.
On 30th afternoon, sir.
So 30th is fine.
Yeah, we would like
What
to
day-
have your lecture on 30th after lunch.
Yes. Yes. What day is that? It's a Tuesday,
Thank-
right?
Tuesday, sir. Tuesday.
That should be fine. That should be fine.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Professor.
And you've been a very good audience. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.